We all know from our younger years that sometimes it's fun to simply play in the dirt. Some racers never forget that lesson, and while more high-tech, high-speed options are available, nothing beats slinging some mud in an old beater. Tonight we'll do just that as we get ready to watch round one of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series, presented by the Crew Shop. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Gary Weaver. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While Charlotte is most known for its mile-and-a-half paved oval, for the past couple decades, they've returned to oval roots racing with a dirt track just off of Turn 4. Some of our viewers might not have known this global ring was even here, so why don't we head down to our track guide to learn a little bit more.
Welcome to Charlotte. No, not the big oval that hosts the World 600 and the Roval. We're heading just a short walk off of Turn 4 to the dirt track. The only thing shared between the two is the name. The stadium-style facility, built in the year 2000, has nearly 14,000 seats and plays host to dirt lake models, modified sprint cars, even monster trucks, and the prestigious World of Outlaws World Finals. On iRacing, it came to the service in 2018 with the Dirt Movement and plays host to several rounds of official iRacing sanctioned dirt events as well as thousands of private league events. At 0.4 of a mile, the turns are where the action is. 10 degrees of banking awaits the drivers as they haul off into Turn 1. The short radius of the corners makes slide jobs the name of the game, rewarding the bravest drivers to send it into the corner like the postman and wrestle track position away. Boasting a day version and a night version, this allows the full dynamic sky range that iRacing offers, providing for a beautiful visual that serves as a backdrop to the even better racing. Corners that you can stack cars in 3, 4, and even 5 wide for the bravest. Lots of action, deceptively fast, beautiful backdrops. All of these things add up to what makes this place unique. This has been our guide to the Charlotte Dirt Oval. I'm Brian Yasek. Enjoy the show.
It really is a nice facility here, Gary. I'm glad to see Charlotte invest in this sort of racing, but how is this going to play out with our street stocks today?
Well, these street stocks, it has these things are basically built like tanks. I haven't driven these in a while, excuse me, but I do remember that the last time I drove these can definitely take a little bit of a beating at some point. So you can definitely rub your doors together, rub some tires together, but just make sure that you don't take really the near invincibility of these street stocks for granted.
You can see the details about the track on screen as well with how the street stocks will interact with it. We'll learn a little bit more as the race goes on because, as always with dirt, it's a unique experience every time you get them out there. But before we get to the cars themselves, let's remind you of our sponsor. The Crew Shop has been in operation since 1986. They are a team of highly experienced travel agents that have a huge passion for travel. They specialize in cruises, all-inclusive resorts, escorted tours, Disney and family travel, groups, honeymoons, and weddings. They would love the opportunity to help you plan your next vacation. Give them a call today at 260-755-6125 or visit them at thecruiseshopfw.com. The Crew Shop is dedicated to fulfilling their clients' dreams one destination at a time. As we watch the drivers continue to warm up, we will be getting into the qualifying session here in a moment. This is new coverage here on GSRC, so if you're used to the Bootleg Racing League, this dirt series is going to be just slightly different. In fact, in case we have viewers who are not familiar, Gary, why don't you go over the race details for them and explain a little bit of how this evening works.
Well, for tonight, as you see, it is round 1 of 11 here in the Dirt Street Stock. We have a heat race format for tonight. 16 cars will make the feature out of the 25 that are here today. So there will be, for sure, a few drivers going home. Drivers do have at least one fast repair available to them.
And I'm sure that will be important because pit stops not really usually a thing here on the dirt side. And you can see as they are continuing to work around, this track has been evolving just lap after lap. Here in the warm-up, drivers continuing to try and find their way around the best. It is evening time, and as you'd expect here in the middle of Charlotte, that it is relatively cool out, 65 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface itself, which is going to be slightly different as well from pavement racing, a 77 air temperature. We talk about this a lot on the dirt side, Gary, that the temperature, usually we talk about it in the terms of the surface on the pavement and the way that it's going to heat it up. But here, I guess more it's about that moisture.
Yeah, dirt tracks, that moisture definitely does matter, especially because with the fact that, well, the moisture eventually runs out at some point during these events as well. So at some point when you wear the track in, the moisture is gone, and you're going to have to really adapt as much as possible to figure out the best line.
Yeah, and figuring out that best line is going to be the name of the game. We are getting a little bit of the racing line slicking up on the bottom. I'm seeing one thing I did notice in our graphic, Gary, is the fact that it is a drastic difference from the bottom to the top in terms of that banking. I mean, does this mean that we're going to see that high line desired for most of the night, or do you think the bottom line is a viable place, a way to race around here?
I wouldn't be surprised if some drivers actually use the top line a little bit more often than the inside, especially with the fact that, well, I mean, the cushion is up on the top side. You can get a little bit of a faster speed up there, but with the inside lane, you can also use that to make some moves. So I'm expecting some drivers to use the middle and inside lanes for some passing and the outside lanes for their normal line.
Now, I know this is our first time broadcasting, but for people who are fans of this series, either those who have just been following their friends or relatives that race in this series, Tyler Jackson, our champion from last season, is back, and he is going to race today. I do see him out there, so we'll see how he fares when all is said and done. It's just got 2 minutes left here, and Lightning McQueen apparently turning right to go left, as he is known to do from the movie. So the number 25, Brennan Myers, apparently putting a little bit of homage there to some old Pixar movies out there tonight. But just a little bit of time left. How valuable is this warm-up here to try and get used to and try and find speed in this sort of racing? Gary, do the drivers really want to get out there, or is it better to maybe just hang back and wait until the qualifying session starts before you hit the dirt?
I think it's really valuable, especially with the fact that you can easily, I mean, they had 20 minutes available to them. A lot can happen with the surface within 20 minutes. So with these drivers, they can adapt to the racing line. They can figure out at least what roughly is going to happen, what the best line works for their comfort level as well for this track. So we'll see more than likely what these drivers can do. And again, the warm-up is just, I personally think, is very, very useful.
Clock ticking down to nearly zero at this point now, and as you can see, this is going to be a fascinating one because these drivers do have experience, so this is not completely new that they are dealing with this out here. These are drivers, I think they're on season 3, I want to say, for the street stocks currently. Yeah, season 3 that they are out there. So they've been running it for a while, and they are used to this format. But this is their first time being broadcast, so hopefully nobody gets the jitters out there running here for the first time on camera on GSRC with the dirt cars. But for those of you that do watch the Bootleg Racing series on Saturday nights, you will see a few familiar faces. Justin Morton out there, Brian Dean, I see, Jason Menda, Donnie Moore, of course, Kenny Kibbe is out there. So should be some familiar faces, and hopefully we'll get to talk to a few of them before all is said and done. It looks like that checkered flag is out now, Gary, so time to head over into the qualifying. It is fixed setup, thankfully, so they don't have to worry about trying to tweak the cars and trying to find speed in this qualifying in that way.
Yeah, personally, from I guess more my personal attempt at running dirt, it was a little bit difficult, but also a little bit fun trying to mess around and see what we can do really with the open setups. But with fixed setups, you know that you can just get a little bit comfortable. You can use this as practice as well, run with people that you know. So it's definitely a little bit of just a little bit more of an experience gainer for these drivers.
Now they get 4 laps here in qualifying. They are usually gridded inverted in the Bootleg Racing League on the Grand National Series that we cover on Saturday night. And that is not according to qualifying. That is according to the previous round's results. Here, they are going to invert the heats from this qualifying. And then from there, you will grid up according to where you finished in the heats or the B main, depending on the race. Bobby Rafferty out there with a first timed lap. And that puts him up to the provisional pole, with Brennan Myers quickly going quicker.
So far, so good for Brendan Myers, just by 7/1000ths of a second. So everyone's going to be running in their lap times, running the top side, as you can see. So again, it's going to be the main line for these drivers to run. But for passing, well, it's not exactly going to be the preferred lane, just as I had mentioned earlier in warm-up. You can see right now, no one has knocked Brendan Myers off the pole yet.
And I'm curious too, with these street stocks and riding up high like that, they don't have a whole lot of oomph from the time that I've hopped into them. Is this going to be a momentum game out here today for the drivers in these cars?
More than likely, as you see Jared Shepard, nope, never mind, Steven Spies now up on the top board. So 2 consecutive quick laps in a row for those drivers, and Brendan Myers gets shuffled down to P3. But Joe, if you could repeat the question really quickly, I apologize. That's
yeah, okay. I was wondering if it's going to be a momentum game in these cars, since it doesn't seem like they have a lot of power under them.
Yeah, more than likely. It depends. It depends really on just how these drivers will drive these cars. Momentum is not exactly a strong suit for the dirt street stocks. They do have a decent amount of momentum, but at the same time, you have to find the right line, maybe try and use a few tricks as much as possible within reason, of course. Maybe try and take the top side diamond down into the inside lane as well to try and get a little bit of quicker speed. So it's a little bit of a mishmash of yes and no in a sense.
Not the answer I expected, to be honest. So good to know on that end. Kenny Kibbe, by the way, is up onto the front row, or what would be the front row, I guess, if we were gridding them up by order. J.R. Shepard, a very familiar face for the fans of the Bootleg Racing League, multi-time champion over on the Premier Series in Saturday night racing. He's got it in 4th currently. We're almost out of laps and almost out of time for our drivers. Tyler Jackson, who is in 5th, is on his final time around. And as he comes to the line, he's got to beat a 19.5. Let's see what he does. He doesn't go quicker, 19.6.
Really, really close to that. You see just on the left-hand side just about the top 5, top 6 or so, all within a 1/10 of each other. And even just after that, it's still relatively close for these drivers. So some of these drivers actually still continuing to run some practice laps.
And Kibbe just finished his last lap. He did not improve. Justin Morton on his final one did go quicker, and that put him into 16th place. So we will wait for them to be gridded in their heats, as we will have 8 laps in these heats, and there will be 6 cars in each of the heats. As I mentioned, they will be inverted from their qualifying. And the important thing here, Gary, is only 2 cars, the top 2 cars of each heat, will automatically advance to the feature. So there is incentive to do well in these initial rounds, even though we will have a last chance qualifier.
Not only do well, but race clean as well. That's going to be another key thing. And it's going to be maybe a little bit stressful for some drivers. That depends, especially. But I'm pretty sure that some of these drivers that didn't qualify as well as they'd hoped, that this inversion could actually help them out a little bit later on.
Yeah, if you're a good defender, I suppose it'll make life a little bit nicer for you, even if you don't have good one-lap speed. Just waiting for that clock to tick down now before we go through this first heat of the night with 25. That would be, I believe, we'll have, is that 5 heats or is that 4? We'll find out soon enough. Math, unfortunately, for longtime viewers will know, is not our strong suit here on GSRC. So we'll do our best in the time being. Time runs out there on our qualifying. So the first grid of the night has Jason Menda on the pole. Justin Morton is going to be starting in 2nd position. And 3rd, Gary, is going to be Stephen Gregory.
qualifying in 4th place, it will be Brennan Myers and Steven Spies will round up the 5-car grid for this first heat.
You see them gridding up now behind the pace truck. And again, we will only get 8 laps. It will go by very, very quickly in this series. So those in the back who were the fastest qualifiers do not have time, and they will have to be aggressive to get up to the front. Hopefully that will not mean that we'll have a lot of cars that wind up a mess after this heat.
And hopefully that will not be the case. There is, of course, still the chance of a essentially last chance qualifier where the winner of that consolation race will make it onto the feature.
Absolutely. And as the drivers come around after this first lap, not going to have any 4 wide here with only 6 cars out there to give the salute. We'll get one more time around. See how Jason Menda deals with the pressure of being on the pole with a lot of fast drivers breathing down his neck. The number 45 as we ride on board of them, looking behind and seeing the small field back there. Visibility not going to be the greatest, all the dirt being kicked up, so they will have to also try and look out for what's going on that end. Pace truck is now in. Control has been given to the number 45. He's waiting patiently, leading them around 3 and 4. Looking for that green flag. It's a long wait for Menda. Green flag is out, and he is not good off the line. Look at the 9 on the high side. Justin Morton with a great launch with that desired high line. If he can keep his momentum off of there, he could take the lead away. He's got just a nose ahead, but the job is not done yet.
You see already way down on the inside, Stephen Gregory in the number 97, trying to use the very bottom lane as much as possible. It's almost 3 wide for the lead there, but Justin Morton hanging on to the top side for the time being. The 45 still just trying to hang on with the middle lane as they nearly make contact off 2.
That was Gregory almost getting into the back of Menda there. He's going to try and go under him, looking for it, but he just doesn't quite have the clearance. And this actually might slow him up a bit because Morton, with that high side, really doing well to keep the nose ahead. Still not totally clear of the 45 as Jason Menda still fights hard to try and see if he can get back to that top spot. If anything, the defense, I'd say, is almost more important since he wants this second position.
Yeah, he's using that middle or so lane just to defend as much as possible. You see the 25 of Brennan Myers up on top side. And while speaking of the top side, immediately going back up to the top side is that number 45 of Jason Menda. And that's going to be 3 wide for second place as the 25 unit makes contact with the 97. It's just drivers just trying to figure out what lane is working for them now.
Ooh, and it's not working for Myers really well initially as Steven Spies gets down to the inside in the 55. Doesn't quite work out. Gregory still fighting hard to see if he can get at that transfer spot to peel it away from Menda. He is not clear on the back stretch. He's going to go for the low line once more to see if it'll do anything for him. Look at the diamonding off there from the 45. Menda trying to get as much speed as he can off the corner.
And it goes back to what I said about around qualifying or so. With the momentum, it's not exactly the best case on the top side. You can use the top side to defend, but the diamonding works very, very well. You can see Stephen Gregory as well as almost the 55 just running the low side as much as possible, but the race for second place is still on. Gregory's not giving up. And
it's only 2 to go. It was very tight at the line. It looks like Menda could get sniped if he's not careful because Gregory may have been ahead of him their last time through. White flag is now waving for Justin Morton. It's been a clean race, but a very tight race for that second place. Morton looks like he's easily got this win wrapped up in the heat, but what about that second position? Final transfer spot to the A main. Menda has a nose ahead behind him. Gregory going to try that low line once more. If he can get the shot off of it. Is he going to go for the slide job? He's going to look for it. Over under potentially for the 45. He tries to come back through there. 3 wide, but it is going to go to the 55, I believe. No, the 97. Oh, Gregory gets it. A very close finish. A great job by Stephen Gregory to utilize that inside lane and a slide job as well. So the next grid for Heat 2 going to be Roger Woody on the pole with Matt Shinosky starting in second place, rather. Davey Lamont is going to be starting in third. Gary? Fourth place will be Michael Redding, and Kenny Kibbe will round out the 5-car heat for tonight in the second heat. Let's see, lining up now behind the pace truck as everybody eager to get out and get running. And I think with everybody out there, we should see that pace truck take off just now. Boy, that was intense stuff there at the finish. I did not expect that third car to suddenly get into the mix of things. That was Spies who suddenly was trying to stick his nose in there. Gary, I mean, is the bottom line like that? The very, very bottom line really that great of an option at the final run to the line?
I mean, if you can get the diamonding just right and carry that momentum from the top side to the inside all the way and slide up top in front of the driver that you're trying to pass, I don't see why it wouldn't work out. I mean, we just saw it work already in the first heat, so I would not be surprised if we see this happen in these next heat races, or even maybe some defense on the inside lane as well.
And the other thing I'm looking at is the continual evolution of the track. What are you looking at right now down there? Is there anything noteworthy you're seeing in how it's evolving that the drivers need to keep an eye on?
For now, it looks like actually, yeah, we see from this onboard here, the top side is pretty much all clean in a sense from from what was laid down earlier during warm-up as the pace truck pulls off. So I wouldn't be surprised if that top side was utilized just a little bit, take advantage of those clean and clear sections.
All right, control given to Woody in the number 09 as he waits for the green flag himself. Another long pause as finally he starts to accelerate away, and it's a much better jump for Roger Woody. In fact, down to the inside, it looks like Lamont in the number 3 going to try to take second place away from Matt Chinoski, who tips the wall to the outside trying to keep it together, and he is going to lose that second.
It's going to be a close moment for off of turn number 2, but David Lamont trying to take the top side away from Roger Woody. It did not happen that time around. He'll try and dive to the inside now this time around. And Michael Redding just watching this happen. It's the over-under by Roger Woody. He retains the lead as if that pass hasn't even happened from the 3.
Boy, Lamont is eager early to try and get himself up to the top spot. He is in a transfer position, actually bumping the pack, giving the hurry up to the 09 because he's getting a challenge not just from the car directly behind, but look down low. That's Kenny Kibbe in the 14 trying to challenge.
Another bump given to Roger Woody. Kibbe is actually going to just about door slam Michael Redding off of turn number 2, and there goes the 3 of David Lamont down to the inside, and Woody can't really make the over-under work. However, he does. He had Redding down to his inside. It was a quick 3-wide moment, and it's already Woody trying to defend his first place.
Wow, he threaded the needle through there, and I'm not sure that he's got that first place back because there goes the 3 as Lamont is now up to the top spot. He dutifully takes that high line, trying to keep it away from all comers who challenge him. Still 3 wide, challenging for that third spot. Woody trying to get up to P1 as Redding and Kibbe are on both sides.
And right now it's going to be just almost a 3-wide situation. Kibbe decides to stay right behind as Michael Redding takes up to the top side. It could be a crossover here, almost a little bit of a close moment. They touch doors and they just barely make it through off turn number 4. And somehow Michael Redding just hanging on to it. Roger Woody not faring too well, unfortunately, as he makes contact with Kibbe.
He is all out of sorts. In fact, he's trying to catch the car. Finally gets it under control as they come into 3, but very much losing out to both Chinoski and Kibbe. He manages to fend off Matt Chinoski. Kibbe still below him as we are down to 2 to go, and the top 2 spots are looking very, very secure for Lamont and Redding.
And Woody's still all out of sorts, riding the outside wall, just trying to get as many positions as possible, at least in this case trying to defend. Kibbe nearly spun it around. He's managed to hang on to it, but right now it looks like the top 2 are broken away and at this point are secure on the white flag.
Well, no wonder the number 3 was as aggressive as he was. He's been very fast in this race. Gets himself up to the lead with the white flag waving before. Now he sees the checkered, and the number 3 takes the victory in heat number 2. And it looks like Redding is going to be our other car that cycles through into the A main. Woody, Kibbe, and Chinoski find themselves relegated to the consolation race. Now we go to heat 3. With Austin Belkey up on the top spot. Brian Dean will be starting next to him. Johnny Moore will be P3, Gary.
Ron Snyder starts P4, and P5 will be the 77 of Bobby Rafferty.
Boy, that was a fascinating one among our drivers. That was a lot more aggressive than what we saw in the first round, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that just basically went from 0 to 100 really quickly. I did not expect that to essentially pop off so quickly, although it was a great attempt by Roger Woody to at least try and retain as much as possible, but he did manage to hang on to it for the most part.
Been around here on the pace lap, and the temperatures haven't changed a whole lot. They have gone down slightly. It's 64 degrees Fahrenheit now out there, and it is a little bit windy today. I seem to recall it was about 8 miles an hour before, so this is picked up if my memory is serving me correctly. And now you can see it is switching around just a little bit, and there you go. Wow, actually a little bit gusty today as it's back down to 8 now, so maybe something to watch out for the drivers.
Yeah, the wind is moving around a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of this would be helping some of these drivers get a few more positions and take advantage of certain ends of the speedway.
All right, with the number 24 of Austin Belke having control, we ride on board now with Brian Dean next to him, waiting for the green flag to wave. Coming out of turn 4, green flag is out. Belke gets on the loud pedal. Oh, but he spins the tires way too much. And there goes Brian Dean up to the high side, immediately up into the lead, and a big bit of contact with Schneider between Belke.
And Belke still remains in P2 for the time being, but slipping by on the top side is going to be Bobby Rafferty. He started 5th. Remember, it was inverted, so this is going to help him greatly as Belke tries to hang on and retain the inside lane at least, but he's going to be falling back for sure. I believe he missed a shift, unfortunately, on that start.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Rafferty raced in the CSI Shock Series we've covered a bit, so no wonder to see him up into the top 2 pretty quickly. The 77 in the transfer position. It's a battle for 3rd between Snyder and Belke is struggling. He has gone from the pole down to 4th already, and we've still got 6 laps to go.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ron Snyder could close the gap up to that back bumper, the 77 of Rafferty, and make an attempt to pass for 2nd place. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Rafferty had caught Brian Dean and made a pass for 1st place. They look pretty close there in turns 3 and 4 that time by.
Ooh, big gain from Rafferty right up to the rear of Brian Dean. He likes 1 and 2 and has closed into less than a car length. We ride on board now with the helmet cam, and look at him challenge. He actually gets to the rear fender now and almost tips him.
Yeah, Rafferty's got it down on the top side with these corners. He's got the speed, he's got the momentum. He'll slip down to the inside. He's got the nose just about half a car length down to the inside. It's a drag race down the back straight here for the lead. Rafferty sends it down to the inside. A massive slide up to the top side. A slide job attempt may prove almost successful. It's a drag race at the line. That time by, I believe it was Rafferty. Dean tries to hang on to it.
Well, I was going to ask how many more stamps he had to send it, but he doesn't need them because using that high side, Rafferty seals the deal, and he is now our new leader ahead of Brian Dean, who will still transfer. He just has to stop the bleeding here in 2nd place. We're down to 2 to go now as they cross the line. Rafferty, certainly one to watch out for as we get to that A main because he looks like he knows what he's doing.
And keep an eye on that 77. After that pass, he still got the lead by about 5/1000ths of a second. The moment that Dean had tried to make a pass, but it did not work. So final lap this time by, and I don't think that Snyder has anything for Dean.
Yeah, Dean's still holding on to that 2nd place in the number 23. Although Snyder closes in slightly, it's too little too late. They come around turn 4. Bobby Rafferty is going to win heat number 3 here today at Charlotte, with the number 23 of Brian Dean coming home 2nd. Snyder winds up in 3rd, just missing out on the cutoff. Belke and Moore are your last 2 on the field here. That, I believe, does that bring us to the last of our heats? No, it does not. We are to heat 4 now. And it is going to be Adam Gebel who will be starting on the pole in heat 4. You've got Todd Liston starting behind him, and Robbie Robinson rounds out your top 3.
Joe Segala starts off in the 81 machine in P4, and J.R. Shepard, who had set the fastest lap in qualifying, I believe. I'm going to double check that, but in the meantime, J.R. Shepard will start off in P5.
And they immediately take off with only 4 cars starting. That's interesting. Who are we missing? Gebel, it seems. The number 91 will not take the green flag with that pole position. And that means that even though Liston was there to the outside, they're bumping up the 56 of Robbie Robinson to the top spot. Ooh, interesting development.
Not sure as to why, but Gebel was unable to start the seat. He has decided to retire from this event, so not sure what was happening. Maybe a mechanical issue or something with Gebel.
A very bizarre situation. Maybe wasn't very confident. With him starting the pole, he would have been one of the farther down in the qualifying, so that could explain it. This will make it a little bit more of a 50-50 split, actually quite literally a 50-50 split. Either you're in or you're out. Only the top two squeaking through. And that'll certainly be a big boon for Robinson and 56, who there we see right in front of us right now. We ride on board currently with J.R. Shepard. So pace truck is in, and Robinson has control of the field, waiting for the green flag to wave. They're staying very tightly packed. Ooh, almost a false start there from the 87. Green flag waves. Robbie Robinson getting on the loud pedal, and a very good start from J.R. Shepard, who stays right tucked up underneath Robinson.
Todd Liston might have the lead on the outside lane. No, he gets hit on the inside, or on the outside lane rather. Both drivers that start on the front row will fall back, and well, at that point, just a little bit of a loose moment off turn number 2. Robinson might not have the arrow to get up to second place now.
A complete reversal by the time we get back to the line, that J.R. Shepard and Joe Segala are now the two that are going to advance through. Liston manages to get the car going, but Robbie Robinson falls back to the dead end of the field. Segala looks to the low line, as looks like that is Liston, who was up in the wall in the background.
Yeah, it was Todd Liston. I'm not sure. Maybe didn't have enough grip as possible. Maybe a little bit of steering damage. Not entirely sure, but Liston just trying to at least limp it home at this rate. And no, yeah, Segala was in the outside wall there on the back straightaway.
Just pancaking that right side a little bit on the exit of 2. He gets it back together, but where he was looking strong just a moment ago, he's suddenly fallen away from J.R. Shepard, and I think you're right about the damage on Liston. He's taken it into pits, and he's taken his spare car, but he is definitely going to have to cycle through into the consolation race.
Yeah, drivers do have a faster pair available to them if needed, and Todd Liston unfortunately had to take that. Like you mentioned, though, he does have the consolation race just in case, although he would have to win to make it into the feature. Robbie Robinson managing to hang on a relatively even distance back to Segala.
So as they come around out of turn 3, Segala trying to collect himself. Robinson closing in behind and actually looking quite strong now that he's gotten a handle on things. Running a little bit higher line off the corner than what we see from that 81. So those slightly different experimenting racing lines from the drivers, trying to find the grip out there.
Yeah, everyone's trying to find what line works for them, and it's only 2 laps to do so. So Robinson will have to adapt and find the best line possible. He's got a great exit there off of turn number 2, just closed the gap a little bit to the back bumper of Joe Segala. This final lap this time around is going to be the lap for Robinson.
Ooh, and he's getting awful close to the rear of Segala. This has got to be making the number 81 sweat a little bit. J.R. Shepard, who's well clear, has no issues right now. He just needs to come home. They come off of 2. Robinson just losing a little ground, so he sends it in deep down and shallow, trying to see if he can get underneath Segala, but it's not going to work, as J.R. Shepard is going to take the win in this heat race, followed home by Segala in second, advancing. Robinson and Liston will find themselves in the B main. This will take us up to the 5th heat race of the night. That was heat race number 4 with John Hine in heat 5, who will be starting on the pole. John Wilson will be starting in second, and Brad Speidel will be in third.
Brock Levitt will start in P4, and Tyler Jackson will start in P5.
And John Hine is in the race control, so we'll have another 4-car race start here. So as the pace truck leads them around. One thing I've kind of noticed with that high line clearly being the place to be now at this point is in the late mods we've seen sometimes where drivers will try and use the car, use the wall to actually kind of rotate the car and use it to their advantage. Can you do that here in the street stock, or is that a no-no?
Well, it depends. I mean, I mean, you can see it's a little bit of a different design. I mean, from this onboard shot right here, with the wheels sticking out as compared to the late mods, where you have a little bit of room to use the wall just a little bit, if possible, because, I mean, the fenders do extend over the tires. But for the street stocks, well, unless you want to damage your tires, I highly advise against using the wall as much as possible. I mean, we have seen some drivers hit the wall a little bit and somehow manage to recover as the pace truck pulls off. So. We'll see what these drivers can do for this heat.
So we've got the number 76 of Brad Speidel on the pole as they come out of turn 4. He's already picking up the pace a little bit here. As the green flag waves, he is asleep at the wheel. The 52 just screams around the outside and is up to the front. Then we've got the 99 as well. Brock Lovett trying to get in things, and they're going to come together. And all three of the cars at the bottom hit together with Brock Lovett getting up into the front, but can he keep it?
Well, we'll see. Unfortunately, the 52, a drag race to the line, got squeezed, then turned at the wall, and oh my goodness, caution is out. And, well, the first caution in all of these heats, a massive turn of events here in this heat, in this final heat.
Let's take a look at what happened here from the get-go. This one was just a little bit messy. And I think this started here out of turn 2. Well, this is the second incident. This starts with Brad Speidel, Lovett, and Jackson getting together. No, excuse me, Jackson and Wilson, rather. They're going to go around either side of him, and unfortunately neither really quite cleared it well enough. The initial contact was with Wilson, it looks like. Then things kept going from there with Jackson, who is in the number 8, trying to come back at things and makes contact with the 99. So, waiting for them to regroup here. Your new order is Speidel leading, then Wilson, then Jackson, then Lovett. And Lovett's actually come in for a spare car, I think.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, especially after that. Oddly enough, John Wilson has not come in and used his faster pair as of yet, although he's got some heavy left front damage.
Well, I'd take this as good news that this is our first caution of the night, even with some very hard racing. You see Lovett still stationary. I thought he was going to take his spare car, but he's still not out yet. Regardless, that he will get to take part in the B main, even if he doesn't get the car back out, but clearly doesn't feel confident at this point. As the pace truck pulls in, Speidel and Wilson on the front. So only 3 cars. If you're in the back, you just have to pass one. That's Tyler Jackson in the number 8. Pressure is on for him to perform. Green flag is out up on the high side. Brad Speidel with a great launch. And already working that outside line. Jackson trying to challenge on Wilson. In fact, Wilson not looking too strong off the corner initially, but then he finds the grip, and look at him come back.
Yeah, he's got the inside lane. I think that damage is hindering him just a little bit. Tyler Jackson, however, flying by on the outside lane, and I think it's all said and done from this point on.
He is through, so the number 8 is going to transfer if he can stay put. We are down to 2 to go. Laps do not count on these cautions, hence why we're seeing them still with laps to go. Ooh, and a big dive to the inside. 8 wants the lead.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Tyler Jackson's got the momentum despite the right front damage that he has, and he'll try and make a shot. He closes the gap. The 76 of Speidel got loose in 2.
Still got the lead, so he's got to get by. Going for the slide job, dives down to the inside, over, under. Now, as Speidel tries to come back at him, I don't think it's enough. And look at that, Tyler Jackson takes the win in this heat with Speidel in second, Wilson in third, and Lovett in P4. That should be the last of our heats. We now get to the consolation race. And 5 heats times 2, that is 10 drivers, easy enough to do that. 16 cars make it to the main. So the top 6 will advance to the feature today. It's going to be Steven Spies on the pole here in the consolation. Roger Woody will be starting in second place. And you got Ron Snyder starting in P3. Robbie Robinson will be P4 here, with John Wilson starting in 5th. 6th goes to Jason Menda, and first half of the field is rounded out by Kenny Kibbe starting P7.
Starting in 8th is going to be Austin Bolke. 9th place, Todd Liston. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be Brock Lovett. Starting off in 11th, Brennan Myers. 12th goes to Matt Shinowski. 13th, Donnie Moore. 14th would be Adam Gebel, but he is not here. And John Hine is race control, so he will not start 15. So it's going to be essentially half the field here making it into the feature race with 13 drivers.
When you find yourself in this situation, you know you didn't have a good heat race. What do you do to regroup and try to get yourself in contention to make it through at this point, Gary?
In terms of the 66, I mean, he got, it's just really moving the bad luck, essentially. The 8 came up just a little bit too much. He also had hit the outside wall, the 66 of Lovett. So it's really a mix for some of these drivers, but we'll see what Lovett has in store, has in mind for this consolation race.
Also, don't forget about Woody as well, who found himself losing positions there in his heat race and coming back to see what he can do in the 60. As the pace truck is now in. He's got the inside, waiting for that green flag. Steven Spies to his outside in the blue machine that you see. Woody in appropriately brown colors. Green flag is out, and as they accelerate away, Steven Spies looking a little bit stronger. This is going to be a little bit of a longer race here. 12 laps that they've got to try and sort this out. The 60 is going to swing up right in front of the 55 and cover him off.
Just managing to make it. I'm seeing the 52. John Wilson sending it through the middle of the field. He makes a little bit of contact, maybe a little bit too eager. Multiple drivers side by side, 3 wide, a staggered 4 wide for a moment. Everyone scrambling for position, top side, low side, and middle. It's basically a have-at situation here. So the 56 got a little bit loose in turns 1 and 2.
Woody's still leading, and it's Ron Snyder, not Rob Snyder, down on the bottom, who is trying that low line. And so far, it's working well. He actually gets a nose ahead at the line, so he could make this work if he gets the slide job done. The 55 of Spies has got to watch out. In fact, he's already on the attack, getting right to the back bumper of the 60.
And right now, diving down to the middle, it could be 3 wide for the lead here. Off turn number 4, sending it through the middle. It might be him at the start-finish line. And now just for the lead alone, it was Steven Spies, and he'll slide, make a little bit of contact. Oh, hard contact by the 09, the outside wall. He still stays in front.
Oh, and we got a caution. This is Brennan Myers and Robbie Robinson in turn 2. Looks like this starts with Robinson. He has a little bit of contact with Shinosky. Poor Brennan Myers. Lightning McQueen unfortunately got struck a little bit. And in fact, he's going to have hard damage because the 25 slams into the tire at the bottom.
And see, Shinosky saw just a little bit, makes contact, and yep, there is both drivers. Yeah, heavy contact with that tire. And that is the one thing that you want to avoid while running the inside lane, is not go too low, or else you hit that tire and it's essentially race over.
See, yeah, he immediately takes into the pits. He knows he's got to get a free repair from that one. Now, I know we had this conversation on one of our previous dirt series. I'm trying to remember. Is there a name for those tires down at the bottom? Because I know it was answered once, and I can't. Unfortunately, it's escaped my mind now.
As far as I know, they are just called tires, so we'll see.
So, as we wait for them to come back through, we are getting a little bit of info from one of our spotters about the moisture situation. Seems like he's spying a lot of opportunities down at the bottom. What's your take on that, Gary? Do you kind of concur there?
Yeah, well, for those wondering, with the moisture on the inside lane, we'll see. I mean, for now, you can definitely use that moisture as much as possible. The middle of the track is essentially dried up, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of these drivers use the inside lane a little bit more. That's what we have been seeing as the pace truck pulls off.
So it's Snyder and Woody now leading the way as they wait for the green flag. We've already seen Woody smack into the outside wall pretty hard. We don't know how good that car is right now. He didn't get a lot of racing before we got the caution. Green flag is out, and a little bit of a checkup on the bottom line. It looks like the 55 of Spies is going to try and duck in there, but he can't quite slide up yet as he's got multiple cars up high. Still, that grip on the low line is indeed looking well as he's almost got the lead here.
He might actually get here off turn number 4. He's got basically now all 4 tires, and he will get the lead. Great observation from the Spies here, and well, I mean, just look at that. Apparently, the 55 Spies is now in the lead, but fighting back on the outside as the 09 of Roger Woody as they remain side by side down the back straightaway.
Don't count out Kenny Kibbe. He's suddenly come to the fore. The 14 is looking to see if he can get in. Right now, the last car that's going to advance through is John Wilson in the 6th position. Liston is on the bubble looking to try and get up, and he just gets into 6th now. Swapping back and forth. We are 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 for almost the whole field.
Everyone is using whatever lane that they can at this point, which is either the top side or the low side. 2 laps to go, and I'm pretty sure John Wilson feels that hot seat. He's battling with Todd Liston now for that final transfer spot.
Certainly looks like it is intense in the midfield. They know that the pressure is on, or they're heading to the showers early tonight. And that bottom line is coming alive because the 55 has been strong, but he makes a little bit of a bobble and sweeps up. In fact, this could offer an opportunity for Woody to get the lead back as the white flag flies. Nothing on the line here except for pride. He doesn't want to throw it away, but at the same time, he wants as high a position as he has for the regrid in the A-main. They come around 3 and 4. Low line still working so far for the 55, and I think Steven Spies is going to make that shallow line work. He's going to get through the 09 of Woody. Manages to advance. Kenny Kibbe as well. Rod Snyder. And it looks like Jason Menda and Todd Liston are going to be our final 2 that make it through. So the rest of the drivers that did not make it, you will not see for the rest of the night since we have a warm-up happening here. We have some time to actually read through. John Wilson just outside of the cutoff. Brock Lovett did not make it. Austin Belke, unfortunately, in 9th. Robbie Robinson in P10. You've got Shinosky, Myers, and Moore, the last of your field, who've called it a day.
It's absolutely incredible racing. Yeah, we're indeed just a sigh of relief. A bit of time to breathe. I mean, with this 5-minute warm-up, this track still has a bit of time to change, depending on how many drivers decide to take advantage of that. And while top side and the low side are going to be the most worked on for these next 5 minutes.
That was a fascinating race. That's the first large field we've gotten to see tonight. I have to admit, I'm very impressed, Gary, that how well they handled that big of a field and such varied lines out there as well. But we only had 1 caution in that 12-lap race. That bodes well for 40 laps, but then again, this is for all the marbles. So do you expect to see more yellows being thrown out with everybody really knowing that they've got to do something now to try and get the big prize?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more varied lines being taken by multiple drivers, especially with the parts of the track that are pretty much worn out. I mean, you see here in there, it's already starting to dry up a little bit on the top side. The inside lane looks that hasn't even been touched for a pretty entirety night. So it's going to be maybe a few more varied lines, especially with maybe taking to the inside from what we saw the past few races here tonight.
Those who managed to sneak through on that consolation, breathing a sigh of relief. From here on out, it's all a little bit of the icing on the proverbial cake. We watch Davey Lamont, who is currently 3rd on the timing sheets. Kenny Kibbe setting a pretty fast lap as he jumps up to the top of the field. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but certainly getting a feel for who has adapted well for these changeable conditions. You can see J.R. Shepard out there as well, continuing to run that high line. He's currently 5th out there. They've got about half of the time left here in this warm-up. They're given about 5 minutes to try and get out there and regroup. I have to imagine for those who have not been out here since they finished in the top 2 in their heats, this is going to be important to them, this little warm-up, because they haven't touched the track since then.
Yeah, with the drivers that started in, say, heats 1 or heat 2, or pretty much heat 1 through 4 in a sense, The track has definitely changed a lot since then, in a sense. Well, a little bit may seem like a little bit to people that may be watching, but it could be a lot for drivers in terms of handling. So, I mean, we have now Davey Lamont up in the first place position. I mean, Steven Spies, who I believe, yeah, he started in the consolation race. So he finished first in the consolation race as well. He's the most adapted to this current track situation as compared to, say, pretty much any other portion of the night where we could have had, say, maybe Brian Dean from Heat 3. He's definitely using this time as much as possible to adapt.
Starting to see that line slick up, a lot of the rubber being laid down. You can really tell if you start to see that thing get shiny, just like that, you can see on the screen now. That is when you really know that there's a lot of rubber on the surface and it's not going to be as grippy as the parts with the moisture. Sad to see that we won't have everybody out here, but that's the nature of the racing. Still, what makes me excited is the fact that this is the cream of the crop that we've seen race today. And considering the quality of the racing we've seen, Gary, that I think we're in for a good show, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm really excited, although I'm pretty sure the drivers who are starting in the back are not as excited as we see all the dust being kicked up. Not sure why that suddenly crossed my mind, but I mean, that is going to be the case. You're going to have to play it very, very careful in the first few laps. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the drivers decide, well, let's see, we have 40 laps. There really isn't a chance, there really isn't a point to pushing so early on. Might as well just take it easy, let the dust quite literally settle out, and go from there.
And man, this camera angle that we've got, the going down into one that we've seen a couple times now, really gives you an idea how much dust there is out into these corners as the drivers kick it up. It's almost like, reminds me of hydroplane racing where you get the rooster tail. You just don't want to be directly behind that car in front. So with that clock ticking down to 0, the checkered flag is out on the warm-up. It's time for our grid here in the feature race. It is going to be Justin Morton on the pole with Davey Lamont starting in second today. Bobby Rafferty is in P3 with J.R. Shepard on the outside of row 2. Tyler Jackson, 5th place for him with Stephen Gregory in P6. Then you've got Michael Redding in 7th. And the first half, Gary, is rounded out by Brian Dean in 8th.
Joe Segala in the starts off the second half of the field in position number 9, and the top 10 rounded out by Brad Speidel, where 11th is going to be your top, just about the top 6 from the consolation race, where it is Steven Spies in 11th, 12th place Roger Woody, 13th place will be Kenny Kibbe, 14th place is Ron Snyder, 15th place goes to Jason Menda, and rounding out the 16-car field is Todd Liston.
And you saw our leaders swap around, so outside line is what Justin Morton wants on this start, even though they gridded him on the inside. They are allowed to choose that. You saw them immediately do it, very coordinated between the drivers. But away we go with 16 out on the track looking to take the big prize for the first round of the season here in the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series, brought to you by the Cruise Shop. We've covered the Bootleg Racing League for literally years now here on the Global SimRacing Channel, and we've had a lot of fun watching them compete on the pavement. This is our first time getting to cover them on the dirt, and they have not disappointed. I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to a full 40 laps of racing out here today. Pace truck peels in. What can Justin Morton do with Davey Lamont to his low side? Looking for the good launch. Everybody stacking up extremely close behind them, getting tucked right underneath that rear spoiler. As they wait for the green flag, it waves, and we are racing here for the feature race today. Looks like the number 3 is going to try a slide job immediately to try to get it, but the over-under for the number 6 comes back through and down to the low side. Here comes Rafferty, the 77, once again showing himself to be a major factor.
You mentioned to keep an eye on him, and immediately, just like that, we thought it was going to be a battle between the first two. No, Rafferty comes in from out of nowhere to take the lead at the start-finish line. The 3 fighting back on the outside lane, while multiple drivers using some using the inside. You see some using the very inside, some in the middle as well, like J.R. Shepard, And we'll see where these lines come into play for these drivers.
And how about Jackson, our current reigning champion in the number 8? He's already got himself up to third as they're going to go 3 wide, swinging it down into turns 1 and 2. And we got a caution. I think it's Roger Woody. Looks like this is a self-spin into turn 1 from the 09. Doing my darndest to not call him the number 60 tonight. I'm pulling a bill every time I do that. Just turns himself completely around, and that was enough for the stewards to put out the yellow and slow everybody up, but no damage. So we've had some big movers here in the first few laps from the gridding of 11th. How about Steven Spies? He's up to 8th already.
Steven Spies just immediately on a hard charge. Again, he did win the consolation race. He showed that he could use the inside lane to his advantage. So you see so far the most positions gained by Todd Liston in that graphic there, up to 11th now. So far he is definitely taking advantage of this track in the state that it's currently in.
And for some reason, we've had Kenny Kibbe head into the pits. I think he took his spare car, but he was moving around kind of weird. Now he's getting back out, and I think he might still be on the lead lap, thankfully. I'm showing he is. Yeah, it looks like he is managing to keep it on the lead lap. Still not sure why, though, he decided he needed to come in, because I didn't really see much in the way of hard contact between anybody. Meanwhile,
I actually did find that it was back up on the opening lap of the race, where Kibbe was taking to the inside lane, and the 81 of Joe Segala had made contact with a driver in front of him. Kibbe had to check up, but unfortunately the 81 had slid down in front of him, so it was so far back in the field that it was not a reason for the caution.
Meanwhile, Rafferty taking control as he's flanked by Lamont. Green flag is out. All of them getting on the loud pedal. Very eager start. In fact, nobody was caught sleeping in there. Down on the low side, it's awful tight between the 8 and the 77, but they managed to get out the other side as Rafferty tries to get the launch. He was using that to good effect in his heat race. Can he use it as well now that the track has changed a little bit?
At the moment, he gets the lead at the start-finish line, and Rafferty is not letting go of that inside lane as it continues to get rubbered in just ever so slightly, lap by lap. But Rafferty with a great launch down the back straightaway. You see some drivers nearly making it 3 wide in the background there as they make their way down in the corner. Yeah, the 3's in the outside wall. The 9 gets turned. This is going to be another caution off turn 4.
Oh, and he gets hit, and multiple cars now getting involved. It looks like that is Ron Snyder and Brian Dean who ran into the number 9. So this all starts with the 9, who actually has to check up from the 3 getting into the wall. There you can see right there, just smacks it. And then, unfortunately, Justin Morton finds himself tipped around by Gregory as the white car that got into him. And then from there, he was just sitting prone across the track.
I think Brian Dean and Ron Snyder had pretty much the worst of that contact there that you just barely saw there at the bottom of the screen in that final shot. So back under caution, a little bit of time to regroup, and I'm wondering at what point of damage do these drivers decide to repair the car, aside from, of course, steering. And, well, my question is answered as Brian Dean comes in, who got hit from about 3 different sides of his car. So he's definitely taking advantage of the fast repair available to him.
Boy, this is going to work out well for Rafferty, because you remember the 3 was up against the wall and could have damaged his suspension with that. So he's got a car that it might be limping directly next to him, I should say. Directly behind him is Tyler Jackson, though. And Jackson has been quick. He is a champion in this series. That could be the bigger threat now, I think, than Davey Lamont, potentially.
Yeah, it could be, especially with Jackson being a defending champion. It's definitely something to look out for as well. As it's been pointed out to us that Steven Spies is now P5, so from 11th place to P5 now, he is continuing to charge up the field, as well as Todd Liston, who's up to 9th as well right now.
Yeah, Spies certainly seems to be able to handle himself well here in the dirt, even when he is stuck mired back in the field. Could he maybe get himself onto the podium, maybe challenge for a win? It'd be a great story in the end, a good Cinderella story for him. But we're going to find out soon enough how things are going to play out as we get ready to go racing once more. There's your champion there we saw on screen. We're riding on board with Spies. We're waiting for Rafferty to take control. Green flag is out. And as they shoot off down into turn 1, Rafferty hold back Lamont. Is Lamont too damaged? He tips the wall once again just a little bit. Maybe not too damaged. His cars in the back are going a little bit of 3 wide as they try to control themselves down on the bottom side. The 8 of Jackson looking to get the hard run off the corner to hold back the 3. Can't quite do it for now, but it looks like Rafferty is able to be solidly up front for the time being.
Practically shooting by on the outside lane of Tyler Jackson was a 3 dives down to the inside, sending it more than the 77 has. And somehow, someway, that actually managed to work. I thought he was going to take to the top side. Now Tyler Jackson into the lead, 3 wide into turn 1.
3 wide for the lead effectively. Slide job from the 77 of Rafferty, but ducking down low. He's wise to the move. And the champion, Tyler Jackson, still gets up to the front. Into the wall goes Rafferty as he smacks it. He can't quite get it off of there. It is just stuck riding it. Meanwhile, the 3 down low of Davey Lamont. We thought he would have that damage and wouldn't be viable. He tries to slide up, but when he gets hit around, he was not clear. And more cars are going to get him.
And there's a 29 of Rod Snyder and the 81 of Joe Segala, just barely getting a piece of it. Was the 81, but the 29, unfortunately, had a little bit more contact. My goodness, that was incredible racing for that short amount of time.
It really was. There's the attempted slide job, and poor Rafferty is going to get his nose buckled in from that one. Just, he was minding his own business, and then suddenly there's a car. There's the 29's damage as well.
For the 29, who already had a little bit of right front damage, and that just added to it, unfortunately, for Ron Snyder. So just literal insult to literal injury at that point, but he still has not yet used his fast repair.
I like that it's Boomer 28 Racing. I wonder if that is a self-jab there for Ron Snyder. There's an interesting team name on that car. Thankfully, aerodynamics, I'm guessing, not really a factor on these cars.
Yeah, not too much. I mean, if we really want to talk aerodynamics and street stocks, well, we have to go to the asphalt side and basically just to Charlotte Motor Speedway. I mean, it's a classic combination in a sense, but really that's the only place where that I can at least remember off the top of my head where street stocks race here on iRacing is where the upstream really does matter.
I mean, we are street stocks at Charlotte. It's just you're wrong on both both aspects.
Yeah, that's true. Technically at Charlotte, but we're just a few miles away. But Tyler Jackson takes to the top side, and well, we'll see what Rafferty has in store for the inside lane here.
Rafferty was struggling a little bit last green flag run. We're almost to halfway. In fact, we're going to hit halfway just as they cross the line here to take the green flag. Everybody getting nice and high, trying to take the green as they come out, and looks like the 77, he's going to get a little bit of tip from behind. And up at the top, the 55 of Spies, also going to get very close to Jackson, who tries to get the run. He might want to go down to the low side. It seems like that low side is actually becoming a little bit more desirable. In fact, a middle line there for the... and he gets a little bit of a tip once again.
And just to hang on to it, though, is Tyler Jackson. He'll slide up in front of the 77 again. More contact, but they managed to keep going forward this time. The 77 is basically getting tossed around like a beanbag at this point. At least the vehicle is. Unfortunately, he'll get into the outside wall again. Spies on the back bumper as well. They're 3 wide for second place with Stephen Gregory, I believe, in the middle. And it's just pretty much everyone trying to scramble for lanes at this point.
Man, you said that they could handle some beating and banging, and right now they are taking advantage of that. Up at the front, Tyler Jackson has got a firm control of things, but how long will that last? Rafferty in second place with the shot off the high side, and then it's a 3-wide battle to determine the final spot on the podium. Michael Redding in there. That's a name we haven't talked about a whole lot at all.
We haven't seen Redding as a little bit of contact there down the back straightaway. Steven Spies slides up to the top side. Look at Redding trying to almost actually make it into the outside lane for that moment, but he's still got Steven Spies on his outside. We haven't seen Redding since P2 in heat number 2 appropriately enough. So Redding now opts for the bottom lane now that he has room to use it.
That's going to allow him to continue to fight for third. Spies still up on that high side, trying to take it away as well. And as both of them are losing time fighting, the top two continue to try and gap them. Stephen Gregory back there. Oh, and Gregory actually gets into the wall. The 97 finds himself just glancing that outside concrete. Just barely glancing the outside wall, as you mentioned. Kenny Kibbe as well on the inside wall, or the outside wall, I should say, in turns 3 and 4. He manages to continue going forward for the time being, and Michael Redding now has decided to opt for the top side, right behind Stephen Gregory. Yeah, in fact, it's getting pretty single file up at the front. Oh, and I'd say that Gregory is in the wall again. Sending it a little bit hard there. As we got a battle behind them. Looks like some good action happening down for 7th place. Oh, and we got cars around. Speidel and looks like Joe Segala.
Second incident that Joe Segala is involved in, unfortunately, and it looks like Segala had just sent it into the corner a little bit too much. And this is going to be a great angle here. It sent it to the corner a little bit too much and just tagged by Brad Speidel. So Speidel was about maybe a foot or two higher up, and probably they just would have made it out of any contact.
Yeah, that 81 was unfortunately slowing down a little too much and a little too sideways down at the bottom, and Speidel had no place to go. That was one of the longest green flag runs I think we've had so far in this race. But now we've got a new leader up at the top in the form of Tyler Jackson, showing why he's got that championship. Started it in 5th place. He's up to P1 and is looking pretty confident. But don't count out Spies. 11th to 3rd. This is phenomenal from the 55.
Even Spies is just on a charge for tonight. So even though he unfortunately just finished P3 and Heat 1, he's managing, well, so far he's P3 right now, so it'd be pretty soothing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Spies would really chomp at that bit for advancing his position just a little bit more in the podium, just 2 positions more to get that win.
I would certainly want to, as a win is a win, no matter where you start on the field. So the pace truck now leaves them to themselves. We're going to restart on lap 31. Tyler Jackson on the high side as Rafferty still challenging him, but Rafferty doesn't seem to have the pace once they get single file. He starts to drop back inch by inch. As the green flag comes out, and the number 8 isn't the greatest of starts up there. In fact, Rafferty could maybe have something depending on what he can get off the corner here. It's not looking terribly strong, but at least he's staying with them. He starts to fall back slightly. Tyler Jackson taking it in a little bit lower this time, down into 3 and 4, maybe trying to cover off the 77 from having a chance to try and use the slide job. And now he's being challenged because here comes Stephen Gregory into things.
Just like that, nearly gets shuffled out of it. 3 wide per second, just a little bit, and near contact between the 77 and the 55 there off of turn number 2. They all managed to hang on to it. 55 of Spies on the very inside lane. Gregory not being able to handle that top side so far, maybe having a little bit of handling issues as well, but he does slot in just behind Bobby Rafferty for P3, with Michael Redding just behind him on the top side.
Down to 8 laps to go, and Spies is now falling back. Redding starting to get into the mix. He's chasing himself up into P5 or P4. Let's see what he can get out of it, as we now tick down to 7 laps to go. Up at the front, Jackson making it look easy as Rafferty finds himself with a group of cars piling up behind him.
And Stephen Gregory is not waiting anymore. He's still second attempt to try and get to the inside lane as Redding and Spies were in the outside wall in turns 3 and 4. Multiple drivers as well being on the outside wall in turns 3 and 4. Not really treating them well is that side of the racetrack. But Stephen Gregory now will have Redding just almost on his outside there off turn number 2.
Incredibly, in all this action, we've only lost Brian Dean and Roger Woody. We still have 14 cars still running. And we're down to 5 to go now as they cross the line. Single file mostly up at the front of the field. Are they saving something for the end? Just trying to regroup? Looks like Morton and Shepard also battling for what is 6th place behind them. Now we got a duck to the low side down from Gregory.
And Gregory's just still continuing to try and charge that inside lane as much as possible, but I think at this point, yeah, he opts to the top side this time around as onto the outside wall goes into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2, and I think Gregory was a little bit loose off turns 1 and 2. Gregory opts towards the inside lane again, and Tyler Jackson may be falling a little bit off with the momentum.
Now down to 3 laps to go. Everybody just rim riding up and around the outside. Very few daring to try the inside line. In fact, the only one that I've really been seen is Shepard. Morton going to join him now. And then occasionally you're seeing Stephen Gregory as well. The leaders have closed in slightly. Rafferty's got it down to 0.3 of a second. You can see from our onboard the damage on the front of that number 77. White flag is going to come out this time by. And Tyler Jackson has control of things. In fact, he's looked like he's had control for much of this race. He only has to do so for 1 more lap. Rafferty's trying hard to try and get that car up to his rear bumper. See if he can get something out of it. Is he going to send it in with a slide job on the last one? He's going to send it down low, but it looks like there's nothing doing there because Tyler Jackson in the 8 is going to win today for round 1 of the BRL Dirt Street Stock Series. 2nd place for Rafferty. 3rd for Gregory. What a race.
Absolutely an incredible race. Congratulations to Tyler Jackson on that win. Very dominant throughout this race. It started 5th and just held it up there for a majority of the race. Absolutely incredible. And I'm pretty sure this is why that he is, of course, the series champion.
That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Definitely stick around. We can't hear what the drivers have to say after some fantastic wheel-to-wheel stuff here at Charlotte. Welcome back to the dirt track at Charlotte. Our first round here was an absolute blast to watch. The heats were great, the consolation was fantastic, and then the finale, even though we had a few cautions along the way, there was just respectful and good racing all throughout. And in the end, it was Tyler Jackson, the champion, continues his run and takes the victory. Bobby Rafferty Following home in second, he started to gain at the end, but it was too little too late. And Stephen Gregory managed to get a third from sixth on the grid. Nice climb. Similar gain from Michael Redding, going from seventh to fourth. And Stephen Spies, who was up to third at one point, well, he ran out of steam. He was still 11th to 5th, so nothing to be ashamed of there. Justin Morton was in 6th place, with J.R. Shepard finishing in 7th, and 8th went to Davey Lamont.
9th place went to Todd Liston. 10th place went to Kenny Kibbe for the second half of the field. 11th place went to Brad Speidel. Ron Snyder finished in the 12th place position. 13th was Joe Segala. Jason Menda 4 laps down, and Brian D. and then Roger Woody unfortunately did not finish the race, but did make a good attempt for 15th and 16th.
That brings us to our winner for tonight of the feature, Tyler Jackson. Tyler, you got a championship belt, but it seems like you're not content with that. Another victory tonight. That was awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a good battle with Bobby up front there.
You two certainly seem to be having quite a tussle. More so at the start, though. Once you managed to get clear of him, it seemed like he was having a tough time trying to get side by side with you. Was it pretty easy to defend today?
About halfway through, when it started slicking up, I made a couple force feedback adjustments, keep the car a little straighter, and I think that's what made the difference.
And that is something that I have not heard a driver talk about before, is making force feedback adjustments. Do you find that really, really helps your driving style throughout the race to kind of tweak that? Do you do that often, or is that just maybe once a race thing?
I drive the cars a little straighter than everybody else, I've noticed. So I think I have a little higher force feedback. I like to keep the rear end under me, and it really helps when it slickens up, it seems like.
Well, this was fantastic to join in and cover for the first time. How do you feel about Eldora coming up in a week's time? Is that one of your favorites?
In these cars, it's usually one lane around the top. It's not really, it's not real racy. In real life, it's awesome. At work there, I might be getting moved to second shift, so I'm not real sure what's going on with work. It's kind of crazy times out there right now.
All right. Well, I guess hopefully things will work out well for you, and agreed, very difficult times for a lot of people, but at least tonight you can have some enjoyment. Go celebrate a victory, sir.
Yeah, this is one of the few things that's still normal about my life, so thanks for covering it, and I had a good time tonight.
We all need some normalcy right now. Up next, I believe Gary has caught up with Bobby Rafferty, who finished second today.
Yeah, here with the 77, the Bobby Rafferty, who was determined throughout this entire event. A great job overall, and coming down to second place finish. While a little bit of front end damage, you still managed to fight your way up and stay in that second place. How was the track handling out there for tonight?
Track was actually really good. Multiple grooves. It was a lot of fun. Definitely some hard racing. I know you guys had mentioned the little bit of damage on the car after, we'll say, a racing incident. Guys going, me and I forget who it was, but going for the same spot and knocked the towway out of the car, so the handling went away a little bit, but overall, I'm not going to complain about it. It's second place to start out the season in the heat win. It's good points, and we'll just move on from here.
Well, speaking of moving on, what are your thoughts for Eldora in the upcoming, or in the next week? What are your thoughts on that track, and how it could be different from the dirt track at Charlotte here?
Eldora usually stays more topside dominant, unfortunately, but I think with the group of drivers that we have, everybody is very, very talented within this league. So I think you're going to see guys try to use that middle and bottom and try to make it work.
Hopefully that will be the case for next week. And well, as we head into next week, congratulations on your second place finish. Anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for finishing in second place?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I want to thank Bootleg Racing, the cruise shop, our title sponsor, and Global SimRacing Channel for you guys for broadcasting this for us. It means a lot. I also need to thank my team, Jim Beaver Esports, and all of our marketing partners for this year. It's a little bit of a long list, but here it goes. General Tire, Polaris Razor, Vision Wheels, Rigid Industries, Dirtfish, GSP XTV axles, Gibson Performance exhausts, Acronis, and also I have to thank Matt Everhart with 07 Designs for doing all of our paint jobs from the short track level all the way up to our 2 NASCAR drivers in the DWC. And I also got to thank my teammate Bobby Sant Jr. and Sant Racing Fabrications for this awesome rig that I'm running.
Well, we thank you for your time, and we hope to talk to you again next week at Eldora.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Thank you again.
That was Bobby Rafferty with P2 and P3, or standing by with P3 of Stephen Gregory is Joe.
That was an impressive sponsor readout, if I may. This is Stephen Gregory, who managed to finish on the podium. A bit of a quiet run, if I'm honest, at least from our perspective. Do you feel the same way from inside the car? Because you kind of snuck your way in there. You weren't really flashy, but you were certainly hovering around the top for much of the feature.
Yeah, I didn't feel as fast as the third place car, I'll be honest, but I kind of just stayed in there, tried to keep my nose clean and be there at the end.
Now, you had an interesting situation because you were in the very first heat and you advanced through in that heat to the very end. So you didn't get to feel the changes in the track up until you got into the warm-up. Do you find that difficult to adapt when you get back on there and it's a completely different surface?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm glad we had that 5-minute warm-up, but I mean, it took me probably a good 4 or 5 laps to figure it out where the line was going to be and which the fastest way around the racetrack was.
Now, we were talking to the other drivers about Eldora in a week's time, a little bit different from this one. And although it is quite fast over there, it seems like passing is a bit of a concern for other drivers. Do you feel like you feel an impetus to try and get it as high up the order as possible in each of the races, or are you not too worried about that?
Yeah, Eldora's going to be a tough one because that's mainly just a one-lane racetrack around the top. So, I mean, up there it's going to be your starting position. The feature is going to be mandatory. Like if you're going to want to at least start in that front rail.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on you and see how you manage to grid the car. Anybody you'd like to thank before you take off?
Yeah, I do thank everybody at Evil Outlaw Motorsports. Michael Redding, David Lamont, and Dean's Moonshine Distillery, Slavery Farms. That's about it.
All right. We hope for the best when we come back for round 2, but that was Stephen Gregory, who finished in third today. We've wrapped up, though, because that is the end of our broadcast, the last of our interview. So we want to give some thank yous today, of course, to our sponsor, first and foremost, the Crew Shop. If you want to check them out, you can contact them by phone at 260-755-6125, or they are online as well at thecrewshopfw.com. Big thanks to Bootleg Racing League for bringing us, not bringing us back, for bringing us on for the first time ever here on the Dirt Series. But always glad to have coverage with them because they've been a long time series with us and they always put on a good show. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Gary, Sean, Dougie, and of course to our spotter in the background, Devin, helping us out. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Gram. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store linked below. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. It's right down there in the description. But while you're there, make sure if you see a big red button that says subscribe, you click that. You won't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we mentioned, heading over to Ohio for the next round. Eldora will be Friday, March 27th at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, we'll see you on the track.